The St. Martin Parish Council regular meeting of September 7, 2021 at 5 o'clock in the Carol J. Fugely Meeting Room of the St. Martin Parish Government Annex Building. Please silence all cell phones and remove all hats. If anyone wishes to speak on an agenda item, we ask that you fill out a request to speak form located at the back of the room. Once completed, you can bring it to me. I'd like to call the meeting to order with a prayer led by Council Clerk, Mr. Brooke Gillespie.
We, the members of the St. Martin Parish Council, having been chosen to represent the people of the parish, beg of thee, Almighty God, to enlighten our minds so that our work will be just and fair in all things. Give us the courage and strength to fulfill our duties according to the laws of the land, and in so doing, fulfilling also thy holy will on earth and in heaven, through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Richard, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we start the meeting, I'm just asking the council tonight, if you want to speak on something, please press your request to speak. We had a little problem with the last meeting that we missed the stuff on the minutes because it's all recorded. So just before you can go, press your request to speak. Thank you.
Item 4, roll call.
Everyone's here.
Item 5, approval of minutes. Regular meeting of August 3rd, 2021.
I need a motion and a second. I have a motion by Mr. LeBlanc, second by Ms. Narcisse. Before we call for the vote, I have someone, Robert Burns. Would you like to speak on our minutes?
Yes, sir. First, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you. My name is Robert Burns, for the record. I run a video blog called Sound Off of Louisiana. And as a blogger, this is only about the third time I've done this, but occasionally I will take the opportunity to address the body that I happen to be filming. And I'm choosing to do so today because with regard to the minutes that you're about to approve, you have a little bit of an advantage over me in that you have them and you can see them and I cannot. So what I am going to say is, as you approve those minutes, as they pertain to the discussions that took place at this last meeting regarding Mr. Billy Broussard, I would ask that you look over them very carefully and that you look to see if there's any reference to him burning. Because one of the things that I have the added advantage of in videotaping these meetings is I can watch them over and over and over. And I will tell you, at a young age, I was diagnosed obsessive compulsive. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. But I have watched that video over and over and over. And I honestly don't know how anyone could walk away with the perception that Mr. Broussard was burning. And yet, we've had dissemination of material since then that indicated not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times that he was burning. So my admonition to you, and again I appreciate the opportunity to address you, is that when you read over that section, and I trust all of you have, that if it has that notation in there that he's burning, then I would suggest that you make a motion to amend the minutes, or that you defer the approval of the minutes until the next meeting so that that can be corrected, because I believe it's blatantly false. Now, I'll wrap up this, and I appreciate again the opportunity to speak before you. I was broad examiner for the federal government, and thereafter I formed this blog, and I do things a little different in reporting. Whenever, I may not do the 2 features a month, it may be that low. But one thing I want to assure everyone in this room is that I follow a process. And I consider that process to be extremely thorough, extremely meticulous. And I try to pride myself on being extremely accurate. No one can ever be 100% accurate all of the time. We all make mistakes. That happens. Inadvertent misprints is going to happen. I don't care what media outlets you use. But I strive for accuracy. Again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to come and speak before you. I can tell you that my per capita consumption of crawfish is close to 300 pounds a year. And I'm just going to tell you, I've been able to, over the last 3 visits I've had, because I don't come to Breaux Bridge often. I know it's the crawfish capital of the world. But let me tell you something, I have enjoyed some delicious crawfish. So I'm liable to become a regular fixture at these meetings, if for no other reason, to enjoy some of the best crawfish I've ever eaten in my life. And like I said, I eat about 300 pounds a year. So once again, thank y'all so much for the opportunity to address you. And again, I'll just encourage you to make sure those minutes are accurate as they pertain to Mr. Broussard. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Vernon. Mr. Billy Broussard?
I appreciate y'all allowing me to speak, and all I can say is I would like to reiterate everything Mr. Burns had just said about me, anything that was pertaining to me in that last meeting, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second, unless I have a motion to defer.
Well, I just want to make a comment for the record. The minutes does not say anything about Billy Broussard burning anything.
No motion to defer, I'd call for vote.
Item 6, persons to address the council. There is none. Item 7, special business. A, consider approval of quietus for 2020 tax rolls for the Sheriff's Department.
We need a motion and a second, this is something we can use. I got a motion by Mr. Champagne, second by Mr. LeBlanc. Call for the vote.
Item B, rule to show cause to address nuisance property at 1010 Abbey Loop, Breaux Bridge, property owned by Scott and Casey Phillips.
Is Scott or Casey here?
He-
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you got it. You can proceed.
Okay, in reference to the property at 1010 Avenue, in reference to the present state of the property and long grass and some of the debris activity. Mr. Casey was served on, Mr. Phillips was served on 8/27 of 21. He realized that he had been trying to remedy the problem, get some of the grass cut, but he said he was in the process of getting a lawnmower, am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Would you like to come in consideration of what you advised me?
Council members, thank you very much for taking the time today. Yes, as I had spoken to a colleague here, I have had some major surgery. I don't know if you can see my hand. I'm still in the midst of getting some therapy done. I've been dealing with a really bad hardship since I moved into this place in 2017. I've had 4 major surgeries. I've had my appendix out, I've had my ankle fused, and I've had 2 surgeries this year on the hand. I've gotten about 40% usage back, but with that property, all I have currently is a weed eater running. Now, I'm in bankruptcy, so I don't have a lot of excess liquid income that comes into me every month because most of it gets taken up from my bankruptcy for my house. But I do have the intent to get this property back in line. I'm just going to need some more time. I had $750 saved up to be able to go this week to Home Depot to buy a, excuse me, sorry, I'm fogged up. I had $750 saved up to go to Home Depot to buy just a decent little push, pull behind or whatever. But this weekend I had 3 tires blown, changed out both the front rotors, both the front brake pads and the front calipers on my truck today. I barely made it in time to be able to make it here for the meeting, so I went through that $750 I had. I only have about $20 to $25 per paycheck that comes in as liquid money that I can use besides bills. So I'm just asking the council to give me some more time on this. The plan is to get it up and going. I have been spraying a chemical pesticide to kill a lot of the stuff. The growth that you see at the fence there is no longer green. It is all brown. It is going away. It is dying. I'm trying to do something with the property, but in my current financial state and the fact that I have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, as I am considered a essential personnel. I do satellite and telecom communications. So they have had me working a lot, which unfortunately takes away from my time to be able to deal with the property itself. I'm asking the council today if they can give me about a 4-month extension, and in that 4 months, we can come back and revisit this. I believe in that amount of time, I should be able to get and accrue up enough cash to be able to provide myself with some type of mower to be able to get this property under control. I appreciate the time the council is taking in addressing this subject, and God bless you. Thank you.
Mrs. Stevens, you got a comment?
I think it speaks for itself. Again, I know that Mr. Solari has inspected the property on several occasions, and I can understand Mr. Phillips's plight, but this predates the pandemic, and look at the size of the...
Actually, this was all in, what you're looking at is growth in about a year's time. And like I said, 2 major surgeries within this last year's time, that and having to deal with work with the pandemic is the reason why it got out of control. That's only been honestly about 8 months of growth is what you're looking at.
Look, it's obvious that this constitutes a nuisance as defined by your Chapter 24 of the Code of Ordinances. I submit to you on behalf of the administration that this property does indeed qualify as a nuisance. The purpose of the rule to show cause is to determine whether or not the condition of the property does in fact satisfy those requirements. I think it does. I think you ought to issue an order of abatement, giving Mr. Phillips an order that he clean it up. The administration will work with him in terms of a deadline to get it clear. And I like the idea of perhaps herbicide maybe on the property.
Yes, sir. And I've already started applying it. As soon as I get some more cash to get some more herbicide, that is the plan, is to continue with the herbicide treatments. And like I said, once the finances are there, the idea is to get lawn implementations to get out there and get this under control.
Well, what about the structure that's on the building, Mr. Slayer?
Structure.
Underneath the carport area around that front entryway where we met on our
Yes. I picked up one of those bag-in-a-boxes that you can get at Home Depot this weekend. It's roughly about I want to say it's a 25-foot by 4-foot by 2-foot or 3-foot bag. Once I get it filled up, they will come by and pick all that equipment up.
So all the metal and all the...
Yeah, I do actually have a bag to put all that in. Like I said, between work and with the pandemic and my current situation medically, I've been doing my best to try to get this stuff taken care of.
We do have most pickup through our trash provider in the parish. If you put out 3 cubic yards every week, every 2 weeks, they'll pick up there.
I actually called Pelican about that, and I have scheduled 4 pickups from Pelican, and 4 pickups have been denied. As a matter of fact, I called the parish 4 months ago about finding out if we had a municipal dump that I could just take a trailer and load up and take it to a municipal. What I did find out is the parish doesn't own a municipal landfill.
Do you have trash service with Pelican?
I do. I have trash service through Pelican.
Why were you Did they give you a reason?
No, sir. I got no reason from Pelican. I was told one day, yes, we'll be out there, and I didn't hear anything to the contrary from that point.
You don't remember who you spoke with when you spoke with?
I spoke to actually somebody here in the parish council office who contacted Pelican on my behalf.
So
And
you
they
never
said they
spoke to Pelican yourself?
No, I did not speak directly to Pelican. I was told that somebody through the parish was gonna speak to Pelican because they were having the same issues with Pelican not picking up, not drilling, it took them 4 months to deliver my second trash can out.
Okay.
So that, I know that there's some issues that are going on between.
Once you get all that together,
Yes, sir.
go to the roadway and make an appointment for a pickup, a scheduled pickup from Pelican. You make the phone call so that way, not parish government, you'll be responsible for that.
Understand? Not a problem, sir.
Okay.
Not a problem at all.
Okay, I need a motion and a second to proceed with order of condemnation and abatement. I got a motion by Mr. LeBlanc, second by Mr. Champagne. Call for the vote. Yeah.
I'm gonna bring you some herbicide, though.
Thank you very much,
Yep.
Mr. Sean.
I'll provide you some, do you have a pump sprayer?
I do, sir.
I'll
Thank you.
provide you 2.5 gallons of herbicide.
Thank you very much, sir. Where can I pick that up at?
I'll bring it to your house, I know you live.
Perfect. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your time, Mr. Brewer.
Thank you.
Is there a time frame? Is there paperwork that's gonna
Well,
be sent?
we just decide if it's a nuisance or not, and then once we decide it's a nuisance or not, then it goes to administration to handle the remediation between you and them.
They'll get with you and tell you the time frame you have in it.
Council members, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. I'll have a nice day.
Thank you for coming.
Item C, rule to show cause to address nuisance property at 1016 Robert Lane, Ridge, property owned by Michael Saunier.
Mr. Saunier present? I served Mr. Saunier in a kitchen at his residence. There was some improvement that was made from what you're seeing here. A lot of the little small pop-up camper, the trailer, and the other trailer that has contents of items on it, a lot of that has been cleaned up. Did I send it? No, I don't think it was included. Okay. I do have photograph when I spoke to him, and he did advise that he was trying to clean it up, and there it is. He's gotten some, he's still working on a continuous work in progress. He has made efforts moving forward. I gave him my card to stay in touch with me. Matter of fact, I need to pass back and speak with him. I thought maybe he'd been here, which he advised he probably might be coming. So I'll pay him a visit and see what kind of further progress was made. As I said, the area where the carport is, some of the items are gone. And he just asked if Parish could work with him on getting the other items out.
I need a motion and a second to proceed with the order of condemnation and abatement. I got a motion by Mr. Portier, second by Mr. Champagne. Call for a vote.
Item D, rule to show cause to address nuisance property at 1067 Red Barn Road, Ridge, property owned by Jeffrey and Juanita Robin.
I served Miss Juanita on 8/27 on that afternoon as well. Also, I spoke to Mr. Jeffrey, who drives a truck for a living, drives cross country, and I did advise him of the reasoning why I was president and why the rule of show cause was being served in reference to the present condition of the property. I know that some of the items Ms. Juanita advised doesn't belong to them, which I advise if it's on your property, therefore you are responsible. So made that initiative clear. We wanted Mr. Jeffrey to give us an explanation of the intent of moving forward with the progressive cleanup of the property that you may provide for the council member body.
Good afternoon. My wife's been in ill health for the last probably 10 years. Roughly 7 years ago, she had to go to a doctor. She had a staph infection turned into flesh-eating bacteria. One thing led to another. I was served with paperwork to get the property cleaned up. Her health was more important to me at the time, so I was taking care of her. The reason I'm always on the road and doing what I'm doing is to cover her insurance, to be able for her to be able to survive. Right now, she's in stage 3 kidney disease. Her next step is going to be kidney failure. She got to go on dialysis. Some of the items on the property do not belong to me, they belong to my children. I've gotten in contact with them since then. I looked up Pelican's website to get a dumpster, but I noticed they were out of Houma, and with all of the destruction going on in the Houma Thibodeau area, I figured no chance of me getting a dumpster there. So I'm trying to get in touch with Waste Management so I can go that way instead. I won't be able to get started to do anything until the end of this month or beginning of the next month, because I'm fixing to go on an industrial job in Texas for 2 weeks. So I should be, when I get back from that, I'll be able to take care of a lot of this stuff here. I have one question. That yellow car that you see in the picture, my son's girlfriend brought that there. She couldn't get a title when she bought it. Ended up leaving him, and I got that piece of stuff on my property, excuse my language. And I don't know how to get rid of it.
See if there's a rental service that you probably pick it up, possibly they'll end up picking it up, and get another property, but you have to make that call to them.
Okay.
But in this situation, it's one of still an opportunity for ownership of the car. But you can wander up the property, contact one of the rental companies.
So do I need to go to the sheriff's office first, or do I go to?
No, the sheriff's office.
Because this is, I'm not owner of the vehicle.
But it's on your property.
Am I gonna have to pay for that car to get towed off?
And that's something that I have to work out with the towing company. But a lot of times, being at a facility, now you want it off your property, they might just take it off, just have a conversation with them, let them know what your intents are, that you want it off your property, and where y'all go from there.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, sir. Like I said, I won't be able to get started until the first of the month. Like the earliest.
Mr. Stevens?
Then how long will it take?
I'm hoping to get a bunch of them out of the way in a week or two, and then the rest of it's gonna have to trickle on down as I get time to take time off from work.
Mr. Richard?
Your property line is, how far past the,
I own 3 lots.
you own 3 lots?
I own 3 lots.
So all
The
those
house is on
structures
one-
that are there are yours?
Excuse me?
So all those structures that are there,
No,
the campers, the bus,
no, the camper belongs to my son. The 2 trailers belong to 2 different daughters, and the car belongs, I guess you can call it his too. See the camper on the right side of the bus and the left side of the house? The beige colored camper is my son's. The other one's mine. We're in the process of getting all that torn down. I was gonna redo that school bus and make a miniature motorhome type thing with it, but as I said, my wife's health got in the way and kind of messed everything up.
but you feel like you have a plan that you could work with our administration to get this all cleaned up?
Yes, sir.
What you tell us?
Mr. Stevens?
Well, the issue from an administrative standpoint is, I mean, I can understand the need for a dumpster, but I don't know how that's gonna address the abandoned trailer, the
Well, I
abandoned
gotta take
vehicles.
everything that's stored inside the trailer to get rid of it, to tear the trailers apart, because if you try to drag the trailers in the condition that it's in right now, it's gonna fall apart on the highway.
But understand there's a lot of nuisance issues in this particular area, and it's all for the welfare of the community. Again, we would be more than happy to work with the property owners, because the objective of parish government is to get these properties addressed for the general welfare of the public. Nobody wants to injure anybody, but this property is injurious to the neighborhood, you know that. Everybody who's familiar with the area is aware of that. Certainly, we will work with property owners to clean up the property, but one, we need a timetable. And secondly, we need an order of abatement so that the parish can take appropriate actions if the timetables are not satisfied. And I think Mr. Robin understands what our position is.
Okay, my last name is Gidry, my wife's maiden name is Robert,
Okay.
but I am Gidry.
My apologies, sir.
Not a problem.
Yeah, but I mean, we certainly want to work with everybody, but then again, we gotta have a specific timetable. And remember, we don't get to this point for a rule to show cause until other steps have proven to be futile. Letters demanding that it be addressed, a visit by our compliance officer, the service of the rule. So there's a lot of steps that are taken before we come here.
Now, initially, upon taking the photographs, no one was ever responded to the door until Ms. Lanita advised me that she's all the way in the back room, and my knocks went unheard. But I did leave a card, and she didn't know what the card was in reference to, and she said she asked your daughters, if I remember correctly, of who I would be and what probably in reference to what it was about. And I wrote on the back, please give me a call, and which I always do, so that way we could have conversation and speak about why my card was present. So initially, when those photographs, nobody had answered the door. Apparently, Mr. Gidry probably was on the roadway driving trucks, and Miss Juanita did hear the knocks each time I'd gone. So I think I called her on the third time going to the residence, trying to show the rule to show cause. And just so happened it was, you know, she heard maybe she was in the front room and not in the back room. So in this situation, that was the first verbal confrontation, not confrontation, first verbal encounter that I had with someone from the residence. And like I said, you see no movement at the residence, and that's the reason why.
And I happened to just call because I was finishing up the job. When I noticed that my wife had a missed phone call from my wife when I returned the call back, that's when I spoke.
Yeah, we conversated over the phone and I advised him the reasoning of my presence, and we got perturbed, but he apologized and said, you know, which I'm used to it, for 9 years of it. But you know, we had a cordial conversation. He understood. Matter of fact, he's here to present his case, so I'm assuming that he's willing to do right moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gidry. Thank you, sure. Thank you for showing up. Okay, I need a motion and a second to proceed with the order of condemnation and abatement. I got a motion by Mr. Richard, second by Mr. LeBlanc. Call for the vote.
Item E, rule to show cause to address nuisance property at 1072 Vermillion Street, Woolwich. Property owned by Sandra Grenier.
I guess okay. I have been through a lot of testing and everything, that's why I haven't been over here to see about my piece of property. And the ida didn't do me good. So as soon as I can, I'm going to start doing this. I am 74 years old, so I'm gonna have to take it a little bit at a time. So if I would please give me time, I will get it done.
Mr. Solari, you want to fill us in on?
This is a property that apparently that was, was it a fire or some type of destructive,
A tree
fell on
fell
it?
in, yeah.
Okay. And apparently it's been like that over, what, about a year and a half, 2 years? About a year. A complaint had come in reference to the property. We addressed it, and I think you spoke with myself over the phone once, and you spoke with Ms. Morgan, Alamo on another occasion. And so we got another call in reference to it, and that's when we reached back out to you. And, well, I'm sorry, you advised that you were going through medical care at that time. And,
yes.
And so you were kind of under the weather, and then that's when we reached back out to you, and I think Morgan did, or you contacted Morgan in reference to when you received the letter of, the certified letter in reference to the rule of show cause, being that you live in the Baton Rouge area.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's a piece of property where, matter of fact, at this point, the grass have pretty much taken over, but initial photograph when I took it, the vegetation wasn't, that was the initial, in which it was towards the fall and winter months, so the grass growth with, it's very slow. During the course of that time, the vegetation as far kind of dominated the whole entire trailer. So she was aware of it, did speak with her about it.
What if the grass wasn't there, what would we be seeing?
If you could flip back to the other photograph, this is what you can see.
Over the February.
That's what
February photo.
that's what lies up underneath the vegetation.
Yes. I gotta get that.
Well, Mr. Bronny, you're not gonna be able to do it yourself, anyway.
No, I'm contacting people to see if I can get it demolished. And you see, I had a son that passed away. I had to spend my savings to get him buried, so I'm trying to do what I can do with my little financial stuff coming in, and that's it.
Who have you contacted so far?
So far, I have not contacted anybody. I was gonna ask the consul if they had anybody in mind and how much they would charge.
Do you have any reason to believe any of that can be saved?
No, sir. I know I can get to the grass, and I got people that will help me get the grass and stuff down, but as far as the trailer, I don't know who to contact or what to do.
If you call our office, we have some, I know someone I can get you in touch with that does that kind of stuff.
Okay.
He does demolition work and stuff, no, we can get you a couple of them. If you call our crib tomorrow, I'll give her some names and she can give them to you.
Okay, good, good. I'll get it before I leave here.
Okay, all right,
I appreciate it,
not a problem, thank you for coming.
and God bless y'all.
See if you have something to add.
No, it's the same comments as before. I think those photographs speak for themselves, and we understand the issues that involved. Obviously, the structure needs to be taken down because it clearly falls within the parameters of nuisance properties as defined by our code of ordinances. But again, we can work with the property owner to get it clean. That's our interest. We're not here to cause any harm. We're here to improve the whole neighborhood and the general public. So you know, the same comments are applicable to this particular situation as well. And we do have a list of contractors that we frequently call upon for nuisance issues, and we'll give, like you said, Mr. Chairperson, we'll give a whole list. I don't want to recommend one name, but we'll give a whole list of people from whom she can choose. And we'll work with them to get this done. But let me also emphasize, we don't get here until after we've gone through certain steps.
Right. Okay, I need a motion and a second to proceed with the order of indemnification and meeting. I got a motion by Mr. Fugile, second by Mr. Champagne. Call for the vote. Mr. Broussard, you wanted to speak on one of these subjects?
Yes, yes, if you don't mind.
You have 7A.
7A is nuisance number 8.
Okay, you have.
Would you mind?
We already discussed it. We discussed that one already.
But y'all used all number 7.
But we voted on that one already.
So I just want to make a comment. I'm okay with, y'all did the vote. I just want to ask a question. I noticed in one of the pictures, I don't know if you can pull it back up, there was a big tree in the ditch. I'm just wondering how long that tree had been in the ditch.
Trying to figure out which property.
Number 1,
The first gentleman there?
I think the gentleman that had the hand issue.
Okay, on Alley Loop. Oh, that tree right here you speak of? That's on Robert Lane. I mean, yeah, on Robert Street, right there. Yeah, that's Mr. Sonia.
How long do you think it's been?
I'm uncertain.
From all your knowledge of since you started the complaints, the complaints coming in, the trees been in the ditch,
In actuality, like I said,
you always seen it there?
I can't tell how long it's been there, if it's dead, if it's.
I'm just asking, I know it sounds like y'all got a new contractor that's gonna be picking up the debris, and I understand that there was some complaints about the previous contractor. Do you think these issues like this where people put their debris at the road, since there's nowhere to bring it into the parish, y'all think the new contractor is gonna be picking up these trees that are left in the ditches like that? Because it looks like a major drainage issue, and I know we got a lot of drainage issues where these ditches, these trees end up in the ditch, and they seem to apparently not get picked up. And
That's
that's
the
so
reason
right.
we end up with trees in the ditch, we contact our public works, or somebody contacts public works in St. Martin Parish will take care of it. Our office will take care of that.
But then that's a good, just to help the lady out, because it sounds like she got the tree in the ditch, she's saying.
Well, this is
right
the
up.
gentleman.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is the gentleman.
Item 8, ordinances introduced for public hearing.
I need a motion and a second to open public hearing. I got a motion by Mr. Poirier, second by Ms. Jean-Baptiste. Call for the vote.
Summary number 1331 OR, an ordinance awarding a franchise to the successful respondent to formal request for proposals for St. Martin Parish's mandated waste disposal program in accordance with the terms of the said request for proposals.
Anyone here wish to speak on this item?
Summary number 1332 OR, an ordinance providing for a three-way stop sign at the intersection of Hammond Lane and Palm Harbor Way, located in District 5.
Anyone wish to speak on this item?
Summary number 1333 OR, an ordinance establishing a weight limit of 15 tons on Bordelon Road, located in Districts 5 and 8.
Anyone wish to speak on this item?
Can you speak on today, even though you're not voting on this?
We're gonna be voting on it up,
Oh, y'all voting on this today?
right?
I didn't know we were gonna be able to, y'all were gonna be voting on this today. I thought it was just being introduced. I would like to just ask a question if it's okay, but I didn't know y'all were voting on it.
Yeah, come up to the podium.
I just wanted to know in regards to these ordinances on the weight limits, is there any sugarcane farming that's done in that area at all?
Yes, but sugarcane it's got its exemption, so we got,
But farming period, if there's any type of farming, are they gonna be exempt? I mean, they're about to run
Right.
sugarcane. So the farmers won't have.
It's only sugarcane, state legislature.
Only sugarcane, no other farming. That's what you're saying?
right.
Okay, I was just.
Summary number 1334 OR, an ordinance authorizing the sale of an empty lot on St. Anne Street, St. Martinville, acquired by tax sale.
Anyone wish to speak on this matter? I need a motion and a second to close public hearing and public meeting. I got a motion by Mr. Blount, second by Mr. Champagne. Call for the vote.
Summary number 1331 OR, an ordinance awarding a franchise to the successful respondent to formal request for proposals for St. Martin Parish's mandated waste disposal program in accordance with the terms of the said request for proposals.
I need a motion and a second. I got a motion by Mr. Short, second by Mr. Champagne. Call for the vote. Mr. Stevens, would you care to address some of the issues we have with the development building at this time?
Sure. As you know, the current waste provider, Pelican Waste and Debris, exercised certain provisions of their current contract, increasing the rates being charged for waste disposal services under that agreement. We received, the administration received notice, I think by letter dated August 16th of this year, indicating to us or advising us that Pelican was exercising a right to increase the rates under a formula set forth in that contract. We had certain issues with that particular increase. And I will just very briefly include what some of those issues were and are. Number one, the notification came to parish government after we had had a very lengthy meeting with our attorney, Mr. Duron, together with Pelican's attorney, in the latter part of June, maybe the first part of July. I do not have my notes in front of me, but we had a very lengthy discussion about, I'll call it an exit plan, because as you know, we mutually agreed to rescind the contract. And anyway, during that particular meeting that we had, there was never any discourse about increasing any sort of rates for the final few months of the contract. So that was the first objection we had. The second objection was I'm not certain that that formula was correct. That was set forth to increase the charges by 12%. The third issue was the fact that it was a retroactive increase. We received notification, again, by letter dated August 16th, indicating that Pelican was increasing its rates retroactive to July 1. That was problematic in and of itself. So, upon receipt of that letter, I contacted Mr. Duron to contact the attorney for Pelican and advise the attorney that we had issues with that transmittal increasing the rates. And there was some correspondence to and from the attorneys on that particular issue. And I think Mr. Duron requested certain information, and I don't want to speak for him, but it's my understanding he, to this date, has not received, or at least as before this meeting, had not received that information as to how this rate increase was computed, assuming it can be retroactive. We also, during our meeting in June, recapitulated on certain issues. And again, because this rate increase was not on the table, I informed Mr. Duron on August 16th or thereabouts when we received the notification that I wasn't in agreement with some of those recapitulations that we had made. Period. I think it was shortly afterwards, I prepared a letter to Pelican, to the owner or the manager of Pelican, advising that we did not agree with the increase. And I think that letter was dated August 24th, that we did not agree with the increase for the reasons I articulated earlier, particularly the retroactive effect of that agreement. Never received a response until Thursday evening. I received a telephone call from our clerk, your clerk, Ms. Gillespie, who advised me that she had received a Facebook notification from a constituent that wanting to know why the price for the services were being increased. And that has, of course, mushroomed and a lot of other phone calls. I think we got over 40 calls today on this particular issue, or approximately 30 on Friday, and God knows what we're going to get the next day or so. I have some very fundamental problems with the rate increase. Very fundamental problems, and certainly I intend to explore those through our attorney with Pelican. Period. I mean, look, it speaks for itself. This contract it's been agreed that it will be terminated December 31st of this year. The new provider will be taken over on January 1, 2022. And let's all be honest. The services were not up to the standards we expected, which led to our decision to terminate the contract early. Let's be honest again and acknowledge that since then, services have not improved. And let's go one step further and say that in the last 4 weeks, the services have been even worse. Period. And if you don't believe it, come sit in our office and take the phone calls that our administrative staff in general, me in particular, and I'm sure you as well, that we receive on the complaints about the service. And now to hit us with a rate increase for the last 3 months, just ain't right. Period. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Mr. Brown?
Mr. Duran, have you received any information?
When we got the letter, Mr. Stevens got the letter about a month ago, I asked them to furnish us with the calculations, and they sent me a chart showing a month-by-month consumer price index, not without any calculations. I took the 2-year period, because they were wanting to increase at 12%. I took the 2-year period and did the math, and I came up with 7%. And I sent my exact calculations to their lawyer and said, here's the numbers I used, and here's how I came up with 7%. How do y'all come up with 12%? And in response to that, they sent me 2 copies of the consumer price index with no calculations. And I've asked her again this week to, now that y'all are doing it, we really need to see the numbers. And don't send me another copy of the consumer price index, send me the actual calculation that with an equal sign that shows 12%, and haven't got anything yet.
Do we have any advice for the public?
Pardon?
Do we have any advice for the public as far as the billing goes? Because that's the question. Yeah, I mean, the answer that.
Well,
I mean,
the
I don't know.
contract says that they will be entitled to an increase equal to the increase in the consumer price index year over year. The contract specifically provided for the first 2 years, they weren't entitled to any. So effective July 1st, the 2-year no increase period expired. So now, under the contract, they are entitled to an increase. But you can't pick a number out of the air. You gotta show us that the number you picked is correct.
But there's 2 other points. Number one, we had negotiations on the exit agreement in June, and that was never put on the table. Number 2, it's retroactive. They're sending a notice on August 16th saying we're going to increase retroactive to July. That contract doesn't say that. And number 3, we made agreements in June where we gave things up that's in that contract as well. Now, does it all go out the window? Those are the issues that have to be addressed. Here.
Yeah, Mr. Cedars and I both left that meeting with the understanding that we were in effect, we were going to put it in neutral, both sides were going to put it in neutral, and we were going to coast to the finish line and wish them luck and get a new provider. The parish was willing to make certain monetary concessions to them with regard to the franchise fee that would otherwise be paid. And in a good faith negotiation, if they said, well, we'll take that money, but by the way, we're going to increase, that would have been the time to let us know they were thinking about it. And I mean, the tenor of the meeting, the understanding that Mr. Cedars and I walked out with was, okay, everybody's going to take their equipment and go home, and we're going to be finished. And obviously, it came as a big shock to the parish when they decided they wanted to take advantage of that provision.
And we're in the process of doing some independent research too, just so that we have all our bases covered. And I have not verified these numbers, but it's my understanding that in other communities in the area, that Pelican has exercised its right to increase charges, because that's a standard provision in these types of contracts, the CPI increase, standard, very standard. So Pelican has exercised those rights in other communities, but it's never been 12%. based upon what data I have received, which I have not verified, let me make that clear. I know one city in the parish for whom they do business, I think the increase was 89 cents, maybe a 3% increase. None of it's been near 12%. So, again, advice to the public, just give us some time to work through this. I mean, again, this propped up on a Thursday evening. And then some people are not getting notifications till today, according to some of the phone calls we have. So my advice is to be patient, let us work through this. I mean, I want to work with Pelican as much as possible, but I also want to protect the constituents of this parish. And I want to do what's fair and reasonable and right. And let me again state that for a myriad of reasons, the services have not met the standards we thought they ought to meet. Period. And these issues predated Hurricane Yacht.
Ms. Jean-Baptiste?
Yeah, I think Mr. Cedars kind of added to that. I just wanted to know, like, do they have an obligation to notify the constituents prior to implementing this increase? And I think you said y'all gonna do some research and follow up on that because they got noticed when they got their bill, that it was retroactive for a bill that was previously paid. So I just wanted to know about that.
And I received notice from transmittal dated August 16th, and I immediately sent it to Mr. Durham. Because again, we have a lawyer, they have a lawyer, I want the
Right.
lawyers to deal with each other.
Thank you.
Summary number 1332 OR, an ordinance providing for a three-way stop sign at the intersection of Hammock Lane and Palm Harbor Way, located in District 5.
I need a motion and a second. I have a motion by Mr. Poirier, second by Mr. Champagne. Call for the vote.
Summary number 1333 OR, an ordinance establishing a weight limit of 15 tons on Bordelon Road, located in Districts 5 and 8.
I need a motion and a second. I have a motion by Mr. Champagne, second by Mr. LeBlanc. Call for the vote.
Summary number 1334 OR, an ordinance authorizing the sale of an empty lot on St. Anne Street, St. Martinville, acquired by tax sale.
I need a motion and a second. I have a motion by Ms. Carla Jean-Baptiste, second by Mr. Alexander. Call for the vote.
Item 9, resolutions. Summary number 068RS, a resolution authorizing check signers for public funds account for the payment of jurors and witness fees for the 16th Judicial District.
I have a motion by the chair, second by Mr. LeBlanc. Call for the vote.
Summary number 069RS, a resolution appointing Carla Jean-Baptiste to the Acadiana Area Human Services District Board of Directors.
I have a motion by Ms. Narcisse, second by Mr. Poirier. Call for the vote.
Summary number 070RS, a resolution authorizing the parish president to execute an agreement with the State of Louisiana Division of Administration, Office of Community Development, amending that certain public assistance match agreement executed between St. Martin Parish Government and the Louisiana Office of Community Development, dated December 3rd, 2018. The amendment increasing the grant award embraced by the accord of $33,601.65.
I have a motion by Mr. LeBlanc, second by Ms. Jean-Baptiste. Call for the vote.
Summary number 071RS, A resolution appointing Tanya Kale-Pelche to the St. Martin Parish Tourism Commission.
I have a motion by the chair, second by Mr. Fugely. Call for the vote.
Summary number 072RS, a resolution confirming and maintaining the previously approved budget and authorizing the evaluation and study of other flood control measures, all relative to the Bayou Estates flood wall project.
I have a motion by Mr. Fugely, second by Ms. Narcisse. Call for the vote.
You wanna talk on this?
Just see, yeah.
Well, I think I pretty much articulated the history of this in the materials that I sent to you. I apologize for us not having entertained this at committee, but this matter just presented itself the Friday before Hurricane Ida struck the region. I think it pretty much speaks for itself. As I explained in the materials that I transmitted to you, if we would have proceeded with the bid in this particular matter, and if it would have come anywhere close to the revised estimated cost of construction, two things would have happened. Number one, we wouldn't have had the money appropriated for the project, because the estimated probable cost of construction was about $8.1 million, give or take a few dollars. And if we proceeded with the bid process knowing that it was above that threshold amount, the budget, and it came again within the budget, the second thing that would have happened was we would have still been responsible. We simply could not reject all bids because it had been within budget. So I think it's pretty clear that the amount that was budgeted for this project, which was initially, prior to our retaining a replacement engineering firm, was 6.1. It increased as a result of many factors in the industry, including the price of steel. And I think it's pretty clear, based upon the impact of the recent storm, Hurricane Ida, that this project is not going to come in within budget that we can't afford it. We simply don't have the money. That doesn't mean that we cannot switch courses, and I invited our engineer, Sellers and Associates, Mr. Nick Saunier, to be present in case y'all had any questions of him. I certainly believe that we should proceed within the budget that's previously been appropriated by our previous resolution. That's why I'd like for you to maintain the budgeted amount. We can proceed with alternatives, which would include a pumping system that would address the high water situations, maybe not as effectively as we would have liked, maybe not as effectively as the flood wall would have performed, but effective enough to prevent major flooding in the streets, and particularly in the homes in Bayou Estate subdivision. But I feel compelled to make one more observation. In the last several weeks, particularly in July, there were several visits by our engineers. There was a visit by our Director of Public Works, myself, our newly retained project manager to Lower St. Martin, where I met with several residents in an attempt to get some right-of-ways and to negotiate some other issues that would have kept the cost a little bit lower. Still think it had been above our budget. And we were essentially rebuffed. People said no, that did the study. One rejection was for an underground electrical line, underground, across the property line. And the landowner said no. So it's not as though for the last several years we have not really made a diligent effort to make this project happen, but we have met a great deal of opposition. And now we're at a point where the construction costs just will not accommodate our budget, period. So,
Ms. Norris, do you have a question?
No,
unless Mr. Sonia would have any other comments to make.
No, unless there's any questions,
If on the new, say, Plan B that we go to, how soon we know if something can be done on the Plan B situation?
So you want me to come up?
Yeah.
In a kind of brief opinion, I think some of that would depend on the funding agencies that are funding this program as well. Some of this money is hazard mitigation grant program funds. Those require a certain level of protection for your project, so they require up to a 100-year flood. You know, there's benefit cost analysis that have been prepared based on the budget, based on the amount of funds that y'all are requesting from HMGP, and the amount of homes that you're going to save. So you reduce the scope of that project, you reduce the scope of protection, they're going to then require you to relook at that BCA. They had a deadline of to close out that project December 30th, 2022. So anything that we would have to do would need to be immediate.
Right.
And I think that really we should sit with the parish and Public Works and what's y'all's goal within the budget that we have, and then let's see what kind of plan we can come up with. But anything that would need to happen as soon as possible.
That would, I was just asking, it's my district,
Yes,
and
sir.
if I have any, they're gonna ask questions.
Yes, sir.
That's why I was asking you, if,
I think I'd like to spend a little time with the parish and just really identify what
Right.
y'all's goal is, and then we can, implement it as soon as possible. We've tried to take what we were given and do what we can in a little bit of time frame that we had to get it to where we got it. So, if we can identify a goal and a scope, we can definitely start working towards that as soon as possible.
all right, thank you.
So,
I think it's also important to recognize that initially, it's a $3.7 million budget project. $2.2 million was from CDBG funds, $1.1 million from hazardous grant mitigation program, and with a local match of $370,000. We increased that budget by $1 million by transferring some of the CDBG funds from another project that just couldn't get off the ground. So that brought the budget up to $4.7 million. That's when we went out for bids on two separate occasions, in the late 2019 and in the spring of 2020. The lowest bid was, well, only one bid came in, and that was $9.4 million. We tried to bid it again and had the same issues, significantly over what our budgeted amounts were. After those two failed bids, you authorized me to retain a new engineer. We felt we had some issues with the prior plans and the prior work of the engineer. That's when we brought in Sellers and Associates, who did a great deal of work and gave us a probable cost of $6.1 million. What we did, and shortly thereafter, I forget the dates in my materials I sent to you, this council increased its budget by $1 million, its local match. So, I think we've done quite a bit to try to make the project happen. Unfortunately, the construction industry did not cooperate with us. In March of 2018, when I walked in, this project was 8 years in the making. And no permits, not one permit even granted. The opposition was very vociferous, if you will recall, very acrimonious. We had meetings with the Corps, we had meetings with the neighborhood, and we ultimately, after much ado, was able to secure the necessary Corps permitting, DNR permitting, all the other permits that we needed, and that's when we went out for bids. And the rest is history. So I think St. Martin Parish government has been very diligent in trying to make this project happen. Just a matter of not having sufficient funds available in today's market.
Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. We need to call for the vote.
Summary number 073 RS, a resolution awarding the contract for the Orneville Pavilion and Restrooms Project to the low bidder, Michael David Rowe Incorporated, in the amount of $317,500.
I have a motion by Mr. Richard, second by Mr. LeBlanc. Call for the vote.
Item 10, ordinance introduced for publication. Summary number 1335 OR, an ordinance reducing the speed limit to 35 miles per hour on Chess Broussard Road, located in District 7. Item 11, informational items not requiring council action.
Mr. Steve, do you have anything to discuss?
Yeah, real quickly, just some brief comments about Hurricane I. As you know, we were very fortunate throughout St. Martin Parish, both the upper and lower part of our parishes, relative to the damages done by the storm. As early as, or as late as Saturday at 10 o'clock a.m., and we were being told that Martin City was in the eye of the landfall, which would have been devastating for lower St. Martin. And then when we had a 4 o'clock briefing, we were told that it was wobbling a little bit east. At 10 p.m. that night, I attended another briefing that it wobbled a little bit more to the east. Sunday, it wobbled a little bit further to the east. We certainly did a great deal of planning and work relative to this particular storm. And that included the Monday after the storm had passed. Mr. Corville and I visited Lower St. Martin. We did have some tree debris on the roadways, but we had a crew, I think it was 6 people who had come from Upper St. Martin, together with our public works personnel, all permanently assigned to Lower St. Martin. And the streets were pretty much cleared by 2:30 or 3 that afternoon. Unfortunately, there was no cell service for quite a while in Lower St. Martin, or in that whole region. And there were some power outages. The 2 power companies that services Lower St. Martin, Synergy and Sleeka, S-L-E-C-A, out of Amelia. Sleeka was able to restore power, and I think just now, today, we see some movement with Energy being able to restore power. I think there was 3 streets or areas where there was no power. One area was on Highway 70, one on Landry Lane, one on Adele and Edna in that area. We kept in contact with our state representative who represents that area, Mr. Denny St. Blanc, who was very helpful in trying to get timetables for the power restoration. I want to point this out as well, that St. Martin Parish was part of the presidentially declared declaration, although we did not sustain any significant damages. We were listed as one of the parishes in that declaration. And that entitles anyone who received any sort of problems or had any sort of problems associated with the storm, receiving individual assistance, that's direct assistance from FEMA. The only area that would apply would be Lower St. Martin. And part of the assistance that might be available, I'm not saying that it is, would be maybe reimbursement of some costs for hotel accommodations as a result of prolonged power outages in the area. That's a little bit of a reversal of FEMA stance. Normally, they do not allow that type of individual assistance, but we're given to believe that might be available now with this storm under the aforementioned federal declaration. So, and we're going to put this on our website. Anyone who wants, who feels they're entitled to that assistance, we'll put their information where they can apply, but it's direct individual assistance. In pre-storm preparation, we had our crews up and running, vanning sandbagging sites. We distributed 9,149 bags of sand. Our work crews were working 7 to 7 on Friday and Saturday before the storm. And we attended briefings at 10 in the morning with the National Weather Service, 4 in the afternoon, 7 in the evening, and 10 p.m. at night. And I really want to take my hat off to Ms. Gillespie, who was available for me after each briefing. She even came to the command center on a couple of occasions, and I really appreciate her work. Sometimes after the 7 p.m. briefing, I would send her information to post for our community, and that hats off to her for making herself available for that purpose. I would encourage residents who picked up those 9,149 bags of sand, don't throw them away. Okay. I hope we don't need them. Hope you can come November. But right now, I think you just hang on to them. We may need them. The only other matter, while we're on the issue of storms, the home elevation program will soon be open for funding, probably at the end of this month. We will be posting information word how people who may be eligible can apply for that program as well. And finally, I want to remind everyone that this Saturday, September 11th, we do have a hazardous waste day at the OEP for 18th, week from Saturday. Okay. We picked 2 dates, the 11th and the 18th, in case of a hurricane. But we do have that will be available, and encourage everyone to avail themselves of that opportunity.
No one else have anything? Anybody else? Okay, I want to go over the September birthdays. These people that work for us, that you see around, wish them a happy birthday. They go above and beyond to do their calling for St. Martin Parish Building. Shane Bailey, Timmy Patin, Sean Baylor, Keisha Mouton, Leslie Thibodeau, Kenneth Celestine, Blake Minard, Jennifer Stella, and a little over 25 years old, Mr. Chet Stevens. Not quite sure how much older.
A lot. I've aged that much in a week. Happy
birthday.
Got to adjourn.
I need a motion and a second for adjournment. I got a motion by Mr. Richard, second by Mr. Poirier. Call for the vote. Meeting